Hi, my name is Tammy,
And I'm Jen.
and they call us Woo. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking a little bit more about Jen's experience because we've touched on the fact that she is a medium and that she has some very special gifts. So we thought it might be kind of fun to talk a little bit more about that. One thing I know that you brought up specifically was this idea of like a psychic versus a medium. Are they
Yep.
the same thing? Can you do both?
Yep.
So maybe we'll just start there.
Okie dokie. So I've had this question quite a bit because I do use the term psychic on a lot of things. I don't always tell everybody that I'm a medium from the get-go because then people like jump in and they're like, can you like call in my dead grandma and tell me all these things? And I will talk a little bit about how my gifts work and how other people's gifts work too. But
Which I
being
think
a
is a good point that not everybody has the exact same things, even if they call themselves a psychic or a medium.
Yes. Yes. So, all mediums are psychics. Not all psychics are mediums. So, mediums are actually people who talk to people who've crossed over. So, the I see dead people thing, that's what a medium is. Um, so I grew up seeing, like physically seeing people who'd crossed over. I didn't understand that other people didn't see. I thought everybody saw what I saw. I thought that my house was filled with all kinds of people who just lived there. My family never acknowledged them, but I was like, oh, they live here too. Whatever, they're just
I
here.
mean, it's kind of sweet where you're like, there's all these people here.
Yeah,
Why don't we
yeah.
talk to them more?
Yeah. And I mean, I talked to them, but it was also a scary thing. Like there was something in me that knew that other people
Okay.
didn't see, but I didn't know that other people didn't see, if that makes any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so from a young age, I could see with my physical eyes. As I've gotten older, I think I started to shield myself a little bit. So I don't always see like physical like apparitions. I don't see full body people anymore. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. A lot of the time I'll see the energy of people or I'll feel them or sense them. Um, I typically hear them when they're talking to me. Sometimes I will see them in my mind's eye, and it's kind of like this weird game of charades that I play sometimes where they're trying to get a point across to me, and for whatever reason, I'm just not fully connecting enough to hear like their full sentences. So sometimes they'll be acting things out or showing me images. But I'm very aware that I'm talking to people who've crossed over when I am.
That's
Um,
interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah,
interrupt. That's
fine.
interesting because I feel like other like TV mediums and stuff like that, or mediums other people have experienced, a lot of times it does seem like it's like you said, a game of charades where sometimes they're getting like certain things, but they don't have
Mhm.
like a full picture of exactly what it is. Is that
Yep.
something that is pretty common like across the board where it seems like a lot of mediums are seeing things in similar ways that way? And also oh, what was my other question about that? Oh, sometimes does it have to do with like how much energy the entity trying to communicate with you is putting forth?
Yep. So, the way that I typically explain it to people is our vibration levels. So, when people cross over, they're going into a different dimensional energetic frequency of a different dimension. So they're stepping into this higher frequency of light. And as human beings, we're in a slightly lower frequency because we're in a physical body. We're using a lot of our energy, our life force to move this meat suit that we have and to interact in this plane. Um, so we're not living in that energetic space. We're not living in that vibration. So typically what happens is when somebody crosses over, they increase their vibration. And in order to communicate, they either need to focus their energy into something here. So, like a lot of people will communicate using electronics. Um, So if you look at paranormal teams, they have meters that they use, or they
Mm-hmm.
ask the spirits to use a spirit box to talk or use different technologies to talk. Um, or um, they have to bring their frequency down enough that they can connect to the level that, like, if it's me communicating, I have to bring my energy, my vibration up to a certain frequency that matches their frequency so that we're on the same station. It's like a radio dial. You're
Okay.
tuned into the same station. And if you're even slightly off, it's like when you get to maybe one or two numbers away from your station, sometimes you can hear the garbled sound.
It's like staticky.
Yep, staticky, but you still hear words every once in a while.
Okay.
That's kind of what it's like. It's like if my frequency isn't quite matching, I'll get like bits and pieces of messages, or I won't get a full picture, but I'll get like a red bow tie. And then I'm like, I don't know what this has anything to do with. That's all I'm getting. And that might make sense to the person that I'm talking to, but it's not a complete picture.
Mm-hmm.
So if I completely tune that dial in, if I get my frequency dead on with the frequency that I'm trying to match, I'll be able to get a much more clear picture of what that spirit is trying to give to me.
Okay.
So those are the times when, like, I'm well rested, I've been taking care of myself, I've been meditating, I've been doing all of these things to keep my frequency high. Those are the times that the things that I wrote about in my book, when I'm getting full conversations, like I'm seeing very clearly who's in front of me, they're talking to me, like they're reading poetry to me, they're singing songs, like all of those things are very, very clear because we're on the same frequency.
Is there any activity that you do that makes you get in the zone a little more? Like, I've heard that sometimes, artwork, drawing, or listening to me,
Mhm.
certain things that kind of, yeah, just put you in the zone, I guess.
Yeah. So for me, I try to make sure that I meditate every day. I don't always. Sometimes I fall asleep, not gonna lie. Um, but meditation really does help calm the mind. Physical activity calms the mind. Anything that brings your body to a peaceful state, and gets you out of your monkey mind is a really good thing to do, because
That's
when we're
interesting.
in our human brain and we're just rolling through everything and we're thinking about things,
Mm-hmm.
we really can't calm enough to tap into the energies because we're so focused on whatever's happening here in the physical
Sure.
realm that we just
We're just
tune
not
out everything
paying
else.
attention to the other stuff. That actually makes a lot of sense because I know that we both know that, I mean, everybody has access to gifts if you just learn
Yes.
how to kind of pay attention and interpret the energy and stuff. But the few times that I've had experiences where I've like understood that someone was with us was actually in my massage room when I
Yep.
was giving massage, which is, I mean, like the perfectly calm Zen space. And usually that is when I can
Yes.
kind of like zone out and just like be with the person. And I've had some really interesting experiences that way. And one of the things you mentioned earlier that I thought was interesting, we were talking about seeing people. So there was one experience I remember where it wasn't like seeing someone, like I was just looking at a person, but I just knew where, like, I had this vague thing in my mind of like kind of what the person was like their general overall attitude and a little bit of what they look like and kind of
Yep.
where they were at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't like seeing. It was like I just knew. I don't
Yep.
know. Does that make sense? Is that kind of like
That,
what happens with
yeah.
you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's a sense, it's clear knowing. So it's knowing the energy and knowing the information without having like a physical, tangible thing attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time that's how I get my information is I just
Okay.
know it, but I also like all of my clairs kind of run
Which
together.
We're going to go circle back to that too so everyone can understand what the heck your clairs are.
Yes.
But anyway, go
Yes.
ahead.
So I might have to like write them down because I am horrible at that. Like so one of the things about me, there are so many psychics, mediums, people in this metaphysical realm that know all of the terminology. They're so good about the terminology. And like I know the information, but if you ask me like on the spot, tell me what this one is, I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Well,
and
I
if
think
I sit
everyone's
and
heard
think
of
about it,
clairvoyance, but I don't know
yep,
that. Like the
yep,
first time I heard anything outside of that was you, and I was like, "What is this other Claire?" Like I don't know
yeah,
what that
yeah.
is.
So one of my things is clair olfaction, which is clair smelling. There's other
Okay.
names for it too, but um I will smell different scents, and that's how I know it's a certain person.
Oh,
So there
okay.
have been times that I've had like some of my very first experiences where I like fought with the spirits not to give somebody a message because I was terrified of how
Mm,
people were going to receive it because nobody knew this about me at the beginning of my career. Nobody knew this about me for years. There are still people who don't know this about me.
what?
Um, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, now I live in a different state and so I'm meeting new people and they're like, "You do what?" Um,
Well, I mean,
but
cat's out of the bag now, so
yeah. Yeah. I think it was out of the bag when my book came out, but
probably.
actually not everybody's read it yet. But so like I've had sessions where very, very strong sense, like one of my first sessions that I ended up telling somebody about it, I smelled very, very, very strong rose, like the
Mm,
smell of rose. And I was like, what the heck is this? And then I saw this woman come in and I knew who it was. Like I just knew who it was in relation to this person who was on my table. And then I got a very, very strong smell of chocolate chip cookies. I think it was chocolate chip cookies. I know it was cookies because I was like, that smells delicious. Um, but it was like those were clues for me to give to the person who was on my table because I was
mm-hmm.
doing massage at the time. They were clues that I could say, hey, I'm understanding that this person in your life is coming in. I believe her name is Rose. And the clue was baking cookies.
Okay.
Like, so like I could piece that information together, and give that message. And then as I started to open up and give that message, more information came in because I started to allow my frequency to change. It was
Okay.
like before that, I was blocking because I was so terrified. Oh gosh, what is this person going to think of me? Are they going to think I'm crazy because I'm talking to dead
Yes.
people? And like, do
We
they
all
really
think
have
you're
this person?
crazy.
Yes, I know it. People tell me all the time. But it was one of those things like, okay, especially with names, like it scares me to no end to give people names when I'm
Really?
receiving names because names are a very interesting thing.
Hmm.
Um, for whatever reason, I have a really hard time getting names accurately. Like
Mm.
I said, there's like this charades thing that happens. So sometimes I can see, like vaguely see the name as if it were written in front of me, but it might be a little bit like jumbled or like the letters might be off or out of order. Or like parts of it might be shaded because I'm just not quite connected. So it's
Okay.
like the name might be Adam, but I might only be getting the D and the M,
Oh, okay.
or like I might know that there's four letters in the name and I just can't quite make out the letters.
Mm-hmm.
So when people throw it at me and they're like, tell me the name, I'm like, mm-mm,
Well, I kind of
mm-mm.
feel like that is a gotcha moment for a lot of people too. Like when they're
Yes.
kind of just from observing, not from personal
Yep.
experience, but when they're trying to see if someone's real, if
Yep.
they really can, talk to someone or a person's really coming through.
Yeah.
They want that. They want that, like, solid, give me a name. So do you
Yeah.
find that people sometimes, if you can't give them a name, they don't believe what you're saying?
Um, I've had that happen. However, typically the other information that comes through or the message that came through, if it's something that they really needed to hear or something that they've been asking for, they'll I've had many people tell me, "Oh, you're wrong. Oh, you're wrong." And then they'll come back 9 months later and be like, "I just need you to know you were accurate. Like, I just need you to
Okay.
know that you were right." And I just wasn't ready to acknowledge that. So a lot of the time, like, even if I leave feeling like, "Oh crap, I failed at this," it's exactly what that person needed. And I just need to know that I delivered the message that I was supposed to deliver and walk away from it.
Okay.
Um, because I have like there have been so many times in my life where I've been like, "Oh my gosh, I'm failing at this." Like I was just talking to my fiance this morning about about imposter syndrome because that
Mm-hmm.
has been thrown out a lot lately. I've been hearing a lot of people talking about imposter syndrome, which is where you have this area of expertise and you're putting it out there, but you have a feeling that somebody's going to find you out as being an imposter, like you're not truly that. And because I have been questioned throughout my life and I've had people tell me I'm crazy and I've had people like downplay things that have happened, I do have that sense of, oh gosh, is somebody going to call me out and be like, "You're a liar, you're a blah, 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 blah."
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking about that this morning. And I've had to really take a step back, like when I'm doing sessions, when I'm doing readings with people, and just say, you know what? Like, I have to trust the information that's coming in and deliver the messages, no matter how it's received. Like, these are the messages that are coming through. And I know that 99 times out of 100, I have been accurate.
Mm-hmm.
That other one time is the time that
Excuse
I
me.
have no idea what happened after they left. Like, I've never seen them again. I have no idea. So I could have been dead on and they just never told me. Like,
Okay.
so so I just have to trust that when spirit steps in, they're giving me accurate information. And because I hold space for only love and light to come in, only information that's for the highest good of that person, and accurate information, like that I just have to trust. And that's a huge part of it because when we start doubting ourselves and we start blocking information because we're afraid that this person's going to perceive it that way, or we're letting fear get in the way, we are less accurate because we're lowering our frequency. So we're
Oh,
changing
okay.
that station.
Yeah, because I
So,
think we've talked before about. I had asked if there's messages that you get that you don't want to give or that you refuse to give, if that's happened before.
um, so sometimes I'll get information that is more of a I don't want to use the word warning because it's not a warning. It's like, hey, I need you to know this about this person that you're getting together with or you're working on because it's going to be important later. So sometimes I'll get information like about a pregnancy, or I'll get information about the death of someone um, ahead of time.
Okay.
And I do not deliver those messages. I typically won't deliver a message unless somebody is specifically asking me about it. There have been times where Spirit has stepped in very, very strongly and said, "Hey, I need you to reach out and say this to this person." Um, but if it's something that's going to be extremely shocking or traumatic, those are typically things that I won't just go and throw that message at somebody unless there's a very specific reason or if they're asking for it.
See, that's
Um,
interesting to me because I think a lot of people would assume that you're just getting all this information and you're like obligated to give this information. Kind of like you don't have the, personal power to be able to, what's the word, or autonomy or whatever, to be able to
mhm.
actually like decide how you're going to give this information to people, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
whether or not you're like, hey, I am not telling this person this thing right now because this is
Yeah.
not going to be helpful at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and I'll usually check in with my guides and
Okay.
say, hey, like, you're giving me this information, or whoever's giving me this information, is this information for me right now so that I'm prepared when it comes up later?
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes it will be like, I have a client that I'm working with, and um, they're going to have some difficulties in their pregnancy, or they're going to have problems with specific things when their child is born. Like I've had some people that I've worked with where they're pregnant, and um, because of the way that things are going to happen, um, their kid was born with less function in one side of their body.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gotten images of that so that I know, so that when they do deliver the baby, I know what to do, how to help them work through that.
Okay,
Like
so
if it's
sometimes
something
it's
that I
for
can.
you. So
Yes.
you're prepared for something, but it was never a message intended for the other person.
Yes.
Got it.
So
Okay.
same with deaths. Like every once in a while I'll be informed that somebody is going to cross over soon.
Have you ever
And
had that happen, like someone you're close to? Like you knew that they were going to pass? Oh my God.
yeah, so I actually, and I
That
know that I
sounds
can,
really sad. I'm sorry.
so you know that I've worked with a lot of hospice people
Mm-hmm.
in my career. So I did in-home massage for a long time, and working with some of my hospice people, spirit will step in and say, you need to say your goodbyes. Like this is probably the last time you're going to see this person. And like, as hard as that is to hear, like it's a beautiful blessing that I have the ability to know that ahead of time so that I can say my goodbyes, so that we can like sort out any of those energetic things that are going on. And with a lot of my hospice clients, a lot of them were nonverbal. And so I had a different interaction with them anyways. I had a more energetic interaction because they couldn't tell me what was going on. So we had to tap into the energy to figure out what was going
Mm-hmm.
on in their body. So in those cases, when I knew that they were going to pass, I could help them prepare for crossing over,
Okay.
which is part of what I used to do in the hospice work anyway, is helping them cross over energetically and clear anything that they don't want to carry with them. Like, just help them clear and prepare themselves to change vibrations. Um, and so I would do a whole different process with those clients when I knew that they were going to pass. Like it's tapping in energetically and asking their higher selves, hey, can we do this work? Can we prepare you for this? Are you prepared for this? Do you know that this is happening? Um, so that's a different conversation that I get to have with clients on an energetic level rather
Mm-hmm.
than on the physical verbal level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for me, not only is it preparing me for I'm going to have this loss in my life, but it's allowing me space to help them too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you ever had like you knew something and it was like a secret that you had to hold on to, like something you just like couldn't say but you knew the thing, or is it usually like things feel like they're timed a little better than that, where when you're supposed to
Um,
know, you know, and it all
I've
comes out.
I've had things that I've known, my personal relationships and like some things that have happened in my life that our listeners do not know.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had knowings of things in the past that I've tried to address with another person. Um, in many relationships in my life where I know something that's going on with them that they're not admitting to the world, but it's affecting me because we're in some type of relationship, whether it's friendship or marriage or whatever dating relationship. When you know things and you don't want to have to hold a secret or don't want to have to question it, because even though I know things and even though I'm receiving information, my human brain will still say, well, is that true? Is that accurate? Like, can that really be can that really be right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have any way of checking it unless you do go to the other person and ask. And I can be a little bit blunt sometimes.
In the
If
nicest way, though.
if
It's
people haven't
never for
figured that out,
malicious reasons.
no, but I will, like, if there's something that's bothering me, I will typically bring it to that person And so if I'm getting psychic information, if I'm getting energetic information coming in and it's pertaining to somebody that I have a close relationship with, I'm typically going to go to them and say, "Hey, this is affecting me. Like, I can't stop thinking about this and I need to know if this is accurate because this is going to affect our relationship in the future. And I'm acting and interacting differently because of this."
Oh,
And
okay.
so I'll address it that way if it's a personal thing. Um, that does not mean that the other person has to fess up to it or
Sure. Well, I
like,
mean, the same
because
way
everybody
that you
has
would do
choice.
that, with any other
Yep.
relationship. Like,
Yep.
I'm like one of those weird bartender people too that people just tell stuff to.
Yes.
And sometimes I know a lot of stuff that people would have no idea that I know. But if it,
Yes.
like you said, if it starts affecting relationships with other people, or you're just like, okay, this is too much, I can understand wanting to talk
Yeah.
about it and at least like get it out on the table.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
I used to always tell my ex-husband, I used to tell him, don't try to lie to me because I know. Like I know I can feel that something is wrong and you need to tell me. Like
Yeah.
and like sometimes it takes people a while to recognize that if you are trying to hide something from a psychic, it's probably not a good idea. Like I don't know why people don't get that, but
But honestly though, knowing you, I think you handle it well because you've told me before that, there's certainly like boundaries you put up too where there's times where you have interactions where you're like, this part of me is not on right now
yep.
because I'm having this interaction. I don't want to know anything additional that than
Yes.
this, human interaction I'm having right now. So I think that's cool, but also I feel like there's never been anything like I've never been concerned about things that if that makes
Yep.
sense.
Yep.
It doesn't change the way you interact with me. I always just figure that if I need to know, you'll tell me.
Yep.
Um, but it's like, I mean, I feel like you're just a safe place for the information to be, if that makes sense. Like you don't
Thank you.
judge people and you don't
No.
use anything against people or anything like that. So it's not weird.
No.
Which, but when you said that, I thought about that. I was like, yeah, that would probably scare people sometimes to be like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
friends with that person. They know all my deep, dirty secrets. And that's not
Yeah.
necessarily true.
No.
But even
No.
if it was, I don't know that it would change anything with the way
Yeah.
that you feel about someone. I mean,
That
I suppose there's some instances, but probably for the most part, no.
Yeah, that reminds me of a women's circle that I went to years and years and years ago before, like, it was right when I started acknowledging that I had psychic intuitive gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we were in this circle and we had to stand in a circle of four women and we had to speak for, I don't know if it was like 3 minutes. We had to just keep talking about what was going on in our life. And the other people weren't allowed to say a word. They just had to watch, listen, and receive.
Mm-hmm.
And um and then there was another part of it where you just all stood there and you looked at each other. And there were two women in the group who knew that I was intuitive. And both of them said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in your group. And I was like, why? Because I was a little bit like, what did I do? Like, am I a horrible person? Like, I went to this really weird like place, and they're like, because I know that you're gonna know all of this stuff about me, and you're gonna be reading my energy, and you can see all this stuff. And I was like, no, 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 that is not the way this works. Like, I don't just go out and read
That
people.
would probably be
Like,
overwhelming if you just like
well,
walking
it would
around
be
in every
overwhelming.
person.
And it's super unethical. Like as far as I'm
Oh,
concerned, there are some
true.
people who don't think that it's if you're receiving the information, you're receiving the information for a reason and you need to give that message. There are people who believe that, and if that's their thing, cool. For me, it feels unethical to like go in and do a deep dive into somebody's soul and into their energy field and like pull out all these bits of information because it would be like if I left my diary sitting on the table
Mm-hmm.
in a business meeting, and like everybody in that business meeting just came up and started reading. Like
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
that's a really good point because I don't think people think about that sometimes either. I think a lot of people don't understand that you do have some type of control over what you're receiving and like when you're receiving and not.
Yeah.
Um and I think sometimes people might think that it's just like this constant stream of information and
Hmm.
you always know things about other people. But that's a really good point, too, is that you have your own actual ethical boundaries with that, too. Do
Yes.
you think that's helpful information for people to have if they're out, like looking for a medium to talk to? Is there things that they could observe about the way the person's communicating with them that might help them understand if someone's behaving ethically or not?
Yeah, I guess I would be blunt about it and just ask them like how they handle hard information. So some people are of the thought that you just deliver everything, like just throw everything on the table. And sometimes I don't get this information often because I do ask that they like tone down some of the information because I don't want to deliver somebody's death notice to them. Like, I want nothing to do with that. I don't want to deliver your husband is cheating on you, your wife is cheating. I want nothing to do with that information.
Fair.
Um, so I have asked Spirit not to give me that information unless it is something that is absolutely necessary and they are asking for it.
Okay.
So I would ask um, how they handle hard information. Um, if something that's difficult or traumatic comes forward, are they compassionate and kind about it, or do they just deliver it very point blank? Like if they're very, very blunt and you're cool with that, go for it. But I would kind of do an interview with the person that you're asking, like get to know
Would
their
that be
personality.
insulting? Would you ever be insulted if someone was asking you those kind of questions? Would you
I
think?
wouldn't, but I also understand that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are some people out there who are like, I'm just good at my job and it doesn't matter. Um, and so they just deliver the information, which again, like totally cool. Everybody does things differently. Um, but if you're looking for somebody, if you're looking for a psychic or a medium to work with, make sure that your personality matches. Because the second that somebody delivers information to you that is hard or gives you homework that spirit is delivering for you, if you don't resonate with that person, if that person is not somebody that you feel like you trust and that you're connected with, either you're going to push back, you're not going to believe it, um, or it's just going to come across as really harsh to you.
Okay.
And like, how many times when somebody, like, I'm just going to take this to the extreme, like, you're doing something and somebody yells at you and like starts barking orders at you and tells you that you need to fix this and you need to do something. Like, typically you're going to be like, whoa, 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 who do you think you are? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and back up. Whereas if somebody came up to you and said, hey, like, I'm seeing this, I'm noticing this, I'm sensing this, I'm feeling this, I'm getting this information, and it would be important for you to know this so you can make a choice going forward. Because
Okay.
that's what it is.
Sure.
Like, I'm a conduit of information and energy. Like, doesn't matter who I am, what I do, what label you give me. I'm a conduit of information.
So
So,
basically, the best thing you can do is to see if you like the person,
mhm,
if you are comfortable around the person, and then
yep,
in that case, you could ask some questions to try to kind of
yep,
figure out if it
yeah,
seems like it's legit or if it works
yeah.
with what you want.
And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask people before you hire somebody to ask them for information about who they are and how they work. Like,
I would
because
think it might be a red flag if they got really mad at you for doing that, probably, right?
yeah, yeah, because you're inviting them to step into your energy field, to step into your
Mm-hmm.
soul. Like, look at all of this information. You're inviting them into a very intimate space. And so it's like you wouldn't invite somebody into that space that you don't trust. And
Right.
so if you don't have any way of gauging that, like if they're not willing to answer questions for you or at least give you a little bit more information about how they interact with the information or how they interact with people, I would have a hard time accepting them, like inviting them into my personal field.
That makes sense.
Like if I'm not going to invite them into my house, I'm not going to invite them into my personal bubble.
Yeah, that makes
Like,
sense.
you
That's
know?
an easy way to gauge it.
Yeah.
Um, let's circle back to the clairs before we get too
Mm,
far out of that
okay.
realm. What are the
Okay.
clairs?
So the clairs are a grouping of different psychic abilities. So I didn't really explain what psychic is as opposed to medium. I explained what medium is, but I didn't explain what psychic is. So
Mm-hmm.
psychic is just extra sensory abilities. So the ability to sense things outside of yourself. So in the non-physical realms. So there's we use our different senses in a clear way as well. So we're looking at scent, vision, knowing. See, this is where I feeling. See, this is where I get stuck because I'm like, dang it. Um, so clear sentience is sensing things that are outside of yourself. So a lot of people who are,
How is
oh
that
gosh, if
different than clair knowing?
so there's clairvoyance, there's
Mm-hmm.
clairsentience. So clairknowing is actually clairsentience.
Oh, okay.
So it's
So it is the same
just
thing.
different
Okay,
names. It's the same thing.
got it.
Um, if there are people out there who are saying that this is wrong and that I'm doing it wrong, I'm so sorry because, like I said, terminology is not my thing. I know all the stuff, but the terminology trips me up every time because I'm like, wait, clairsentience, is that clear smelling? No, that's not. It's clear sensing. So like you are sensing things outside of yourself. You're sensing like a lot of empaths, they're clairsentient. So they're sensing the energies of other people. They're sensing the
Totally.
energies that are around them.
Yes.
Um,
That is one thing I know
Claire,
about myself. I know that I'm an
yes,
empath. And that
yes,
is
you
a
are.
very big thing is
Hmm.
just all of the energetic information of everyone around you.
Yes, yes. Well, and so you can, a lot of the time you can tell, some people will call that clear empathy. Um,
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
you can tell when somebody is empathic a lot of the time because they're typically the people who are crying in the crowd when somebody else is talking. It's
That's
because
me.
they're like feeling it so deeply that
Yes.
they're like, oh my gosh, and like crying.
Yes.
Those
I
are
always say that
usually,
people make like entertain like movies and stuff like that for people like me because I get
yes,
so invested.
yes.
It could be a 30-second commercial and I'm like, that was so beautiful.
I am the same way.
But yeah, that does make a lot of sense. But that's funny. I never thought of it that way. Is the people who are just like very deeply moved by the things that are happening around them.
Yeah, yeah. Um, then there's clairvoyance, which is clairseeing. So it's typically people can see things that are happening, things that are going to happen.
Okay.
They're very visual. Clairaudience is hearing. So hearing sounds, hearing voices, like having the ability to physically talk to spirit or people or other beings. Um, Also with that, it's like anything that you sense inside your ears. Um, Clairolfaction, which I talked about a little bit, is clair smelling. So being able to smell using your olfactory senses.
Mhm.
Um, there's one that I'm missing. What am I missing? I'll think of it eventually. Um,
Let's see. You did knowing, seeing, hearing, smelling.
oh gosh, why am I forgetting?
I mean,
There's one more.
like touch and sense or whatever the same thing, basically, right? Yeah.
So there's other gifts in that as well. And some of them have names like there's clairs for everything, but there's other terminology too. Like people have the gift of touching an object and getting information from that object.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So a lot of times it sounds like it's combined different ways that people are getting information.
yes. So
Okay.
there's a lot of different ways that you can be psychic. There's a lot of different terms that you can use. There's a lot of overlapping terms. There's some terms that are very broad and some that are very, very specific.
So, what
Um,
does clairvoyance mean then?
it's just like clear seeing. So so it
Okay.
could be that you're seeing a spirit, which would be more mediumship. Like you can be clairvoyant and a medium. But it also can be that you're getting like movies played in your head of things,
Okay.
or you're seeing actual images of things. So it's almost like you're seeing with your physical eyes. Some people don't actually see with their physical eyes, I don't think. Some people might actually see it in their mind's eye. Um, See, this is where some of the like everybody's a little bit different.
Okay.
But it is seeing. So you're actually getting visual stimulus with your intuitive gifts. Um,
Has there ever been any like scientific research done where they, you know, how they can sense like different parts of your brain that are firing when you're
mhm.
getting information? Do you know if they've
Yeah.
done anything like that for people who are?
Um, so I know that there was a company that was doing what are the scans of the head? EKGs? Are they EKGs
I think
that are on
so.
your head? Where they put the electrodes on your
I
head?
believe so.
Um, so they've actually done some studies on that, and they've had psychics go into a scientific setting, and they run these tests on them, and they ask them to perform all of these different tasks, and they sense where their brains are lighting up. And for the most part, their brains light up in the exact same places. And
Interesting.
there is like a portion of the brainstem that lights up in most people who have psychic abilities, and the pineal gland
Mm,
lights up as well, which are very old portions of the brain that they believe part of the reason why some people still maintain their psychic abilities is because it is using an older part of their brain where they were trained back in caveman years. Like you had to sense things, you had to know your surroundings. So you're um living in the extra sensory mode so that you don't get eaten by something. Like, so
yeah.
you're sensing changes in weather. You're sensing like different patterns around you, different movements around you. So
Mm-hmm.
it could be the energetics, it could be the pressure, it could be different vibrations or frequencies that you're sensing, but that's all part of the older parts of your brain.
Okay.
Um, this is my understanding. I am not a scientist, just so everybody knows that. Like, this is my understanding from this. It's the older parts of the brain are still firing. You're still using those extra senses, as if you were in a time where you would be in danger and would need to sense those things.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fascinating. I don't like it's one of those things where it's like, would I really want to be tested on one of those? Like, it scares me just a little bit. I'm
I
like,
think it would be
what if
kind
they,
of fascinating though, because
yeah.
I don't know, there's something about seeing the parts of your brain light up. I've
Mm-hmm.
watched a lot of videos about stuff like that, and even like in animals and stuff like that. I always think it's really fascinating what parts of your brain are actually lighting up when you're getting certain stimuli like that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that would be kind of cool. Well, I should
Yeah.
go look up some videos.
Yes. I'll have to see if I can find the video that I watched a while ago about that. I know that there are a lot of universities and colleges that have started doing like metaphysical programs and started doing psychic development programs. Um, of course, I shouldn't say a lot. There are a handful of those courses that are out there, and
That's
they
cool.
do some of that work. Um, and they do work checking to see if people can uh, change the outcomes of random number generators, things like that, with their
Oh,
mind.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool, some of the research that they've done in those programs in particular. So there are scientists out there who are studying this stuff,
That's cool.
um, but they don't talk about it all the time because there are certain aspects of it that aren't proven yet, and they can't prove them yet
Sure.
because it is outside of us. Like it's all energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's figuring out how to measure those things so that
Yeah,
they can prove them.
that makes sense. I mean, there has to be some type of provable
Yep.
measurement to it that you can replicate in order for it to be, you know,
Yeah.
scientific.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I
totally not
think,
the scientific person though. So
well, I think you're a scientific person that's very interested in science. But we should look into more information about this and see if there is
Mhm.
more studies and stuff that we can come up with. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Well, I have
Um,
a list. I have all kinds of books that I could pull up and we could do links to books on this stuff too.
oh, that would be cool.
I do have
Maybe we
several
should put.
scientists that I know that are now into this and they give me books all the time.
Oh,
Like,
that's
talk about
cool.
this book, read this book. So,
So yeah, maybe we should do that. We'll put a
yeah.
few links in the description and maybe give some people some more information to look at. I know this is a subject that we could just talk about for a really long time.
Yes.
But I think it was pretty cool to just talk about that difference between psychic and medium and kind of the different ways that you interpret things versus the way other people do.
Yep.
I think it's all very fascinating. I could listen to you talk about it for hours.
Thanks. I could probably talk about it for hours.
So we will for sure be talking about this more.
Hmm.
And of course, if people want to hear more from us, please subscribe. Please like us on all of our formats, follow us on social media, do all that fun stuff. And we love interaction. So please let us know if
Yes.
there's something that you want us to talk about or if you have questions
Yes.
about anything we have talked about. If you want to if you want to talk to us or you have ideas about people who might be interesting to have on the show, we're open to all of that. So please do let us know
Yeah.
what you'd like us to talk about.
Yeah.
And
I'm
until then,
super
we're just going
excited
to
that
keep
everybody's
talking.
listening. Yes. Thank you
Yes.
for listening to us so we can keep talking because both of us love to talk.
Yes, we do. Every time we stop recording, we still talk for a long time. So we probably should just
Yes.
be recording all the time. Um,
True.
anyway, though, thanks for joining us today, everybody. And we will talk to you again next week.
Thanks everybody for listening. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe and check the show description for the links to the show. We would love to hear your thoughts below on this episode, as well as anything that you'd like us to talk about on future episodes. Remember, everybody, you are unique just the way you are, and that is why they call us Woo.
Mm-hmm.